only afford like 2 treatments.
Yeah.
If they spaced it out, like had one in January and one in June, is that going to be like better than them doing like one after the other really soon? Dermal or at home, how is it different to like skin needling in clinic? Good morning. Today I'm going to take you to my skin needling appointment. This will be my 3rd treatment, so my 3rd session, and you guys have been asking me to take you along ever since I started skin needling, but like anything on my channel, I really wanted to try it out first and give it a decent amount of time before I could actually recommend it, because I only recommend things on here that I absolutely love and use myself. So these were the results from just my first treatment. So after 1 session, this was my before and then this was my after. So all I had to do was show these to my friends and family, and then they were booking in literally the next day. Like, I was so shocked at the difference just after the first session. So after I realized, like, holy shit, this is the real deal, yeah, I've just kept going back. So today is my 3rd session, because you can only get them, I think it's like 6 weeks apart, so you can't just like binge skin needling and do it like every 2 weeks or anything like that. So yeah, I'm up to my 3rd session this time and I'm loving it. I've seen a significant reduction in my scars, but also my active breakouts have gone down as well. So I put up a question box on my Insta stories just to ask you guys if you had any questions in particular that you wanted answered on this skin needling vlog. So if you're not following me, then make sure that you go and do that, because that's where I share health tips all throughout the week, and it's where I put all of my polls and question boxes for upcoming vlogs and videos. So I'm going to leave some of those questions for when I actually see Claire, because she knows what she's talking about, so she can tell you all the proper answers, but I will just answer a few. So I'm not sure if you guys know this already. If you've been following me for a while, then you probably do, but I actually have a needle phobia. So ever since I was younger, I have not been able to really get needles unless mum was there holding my hand. Everyone has their phobias. I mean, some people are scared of spiders, snakes, heights, and mine's just needles. So yeah, I'm getting a lot better at it, but my sister has the exact same phobia as well, and we both have had skin needling in the last couple of months and absolutely love it and would do it again. So in terms of the needles, I think Claire told me the other day that it's 1,300 needles per second. Now that might sound a bit gross and it might sound like a lot, but because there are so many needles per second, it's impossible for you to comprehend every needle that's going in, because they're going in faster than a millisecond. Like, they're just going in so fast that you don't really feel anything other than a vibration. So the way that I really best describe it is, if you think of like a toothbrush or even a dry brush, if you put like the dry brush bristles on a toothbrush and then just like held your toothbrush around your face, that's kind of what it feels like. So it just feels a bit like a dry brush in terms of exfoliation, but then it's got like the vibration to it, so it doesn't feel like needles at all. Yeah, I was actually really surprised. And the first session, so usually I've been going to Claire for a while for hydro micro and other peels and facials. So usually when I go to Claire, I just talk her ear off, or I just ask so many questions about the science behind different acids and exfoliators, and just, yeah, I just honestly go there to learn, basically. But my first skin needling treatment, I was silent, because the way that I've learnt to kind of deal with my phobia is to just be really mindful and I guess almost meditate. I have the self-talk down pat pretty much. So I was so quiet and she was like asking me questions and I was like, and not like continuing the conversation, because I was just like getting in my zone. And she was so good. Like, Claire is amazing. She's so gentle. I don't think I would trust anybody else. I was also freaking out that it would like sound like a tattoo gun, and when I walk past those tattoo shops, I'm a bit like, oh, it just like creeps me out hearing the sound of the gun. But she like turned it on. She's like, okay, I'm not gonna put it anywhere near your face. And she turned it on and she was like, just, this is the sound. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So I was like, no, that's fine. It just kind of sounds like a microdermabrasion pen. And then she started and like she did a little bit and stopped, and she's like, how is that? So she like really stepped through the process with me. And if I wanted to stop, which I didn't because I was quite surprised that it was actually quite painless, but if I did want to stop, she let me know, like, not to feel guilty for that, and like, don't feel bad. She's like, just let me know. So yeah, she is honestly amazing. So you will meet her, but I just want to go through a couple quick questions. So how long is each session? So to do the whole face, it pretty much goes for an hour. How expensive? So it ranges, I had a look on the internet last night, it ranges from $150 on sale right up to like $350. Oh yeah, so I was talking to my sister because she started getting skin needling before her wedding, and she was wondering after the wedding, because she was driving an hour and a half one way from the Sunshine Coast just to go to Claire, because that's how amazing Claire is. And she said after the wedding, I won't be able to keep it up as often, so if I'm not consistent with skin needling, will the results kind of get undone? And the answer is no. So you can have one skin needling treatment and it won't be a waste even if you don't follow up, because it's not like laser hair removal where if you have one and then don't follow it up, all the hair comes back. So skin needling, it's like a paper cut. You think when you get a paper cut, when your skin heals over, that paper cut isn't just going to magically reappear in 2 months' time. Like, once your skin heals, your skin heals. So if you get just one session, because I know that you might think like it's an expensive upkeep, but I just recommend that you get one session and see the results and see how you go. And the scars that one session addresses and covers up and fixes, those scars aren't going to come back. Like, that's your skin, and it's healed, and like, that's it. So I guess that probably is a little bit reassuring as well for people who want to give it a go, but they don't want to like pay $200 and then not be able to pay it again and it be a waste. So totally understand that, but you don't have to worry. And I'm going to leave the rest of the questions for when I go to my appointment so that Claire can answer them properly. Alright, so I just got to Skin Vice 15 minutes early because I like to use numbing cream. So it takes about 15 minutes to start working. I'm not too sure how long it actually lasts for, but the first time that I ever used, well, the first session that I had with Claire, so the first skin needling session I had, I put my numbing cream on 10 minutes before leaving home. So I put it on, and then by the time you like grab your keys and grab everything, I was in the car 10 minutes afterwards, and then it takes me 30 minutes to drive to Claire's, which is quite a long way for Brisbane, but it's so worth it because she's amazing. So I had the numbing cream on for like 40 minutes by the time that I got to Claire, and it was fine. I still didn't feel anything for the whole session, but the point of me telling you this is that drive was a bit weird. So like my whole face was just going numb, and it wasn't the nicest feeling. It was quite distracting while driving, and also like with the needle phobia, I do have a tendency to faint, and so when I go like numb or when my ears start ringing, that's like a sign to me that I'm about to faint. So even though I wasn't about to faint because it was the numbing cream making my face numb, my brain didn't know that, and so I was like consciously having to tell myself while I was driving to the appointment, like, you're okay, it's just the numbing cream, like it's fine. So that was an interesting experience. So then my second treatment, the plan was to arrive at Skin Vice 15 minutes early and then apply the numbing cream, but I was not running 15 minutes early, so I was running just on time. So that meant that I applied the numbing cream at the traffic lights. So instead of applying your lipstick in the mirror, I was applying numbing cream all over my face. So today I actually am 15 minutes early, so I'm going to apply the numbing cream now. And so it'll take about 15 minutes to take into effect, and then by the time we start the treatment, it'll be fine. So you don't have to use numbing cream, obviously, but because I had that needle phobia, I just didn't want to risk it, and I wanted to make it kind of as seamless as possible, the whole process, and just enjoyable, I guess. So one of the most common questions that I get is what numbing cream I use, and it's the easiest thing to remember because the brand that I use, there are multiple brands, but the brand that I use is literally called, I know I'm being like a beauty influencer, but you've got to do that so that it focuses. I don't even know if it is focusing. So yeah, the brand that I use is called Numbing. So what do you want to do to your face? You want to numb it. That's the brand. So it's really easy to remember. This tube is just the smaller one, so it's the 10 gram. I think there was a bigger one that I could have bought, but I was just going for my first needling treatment. I didn't know if I would like it. It's a bit loud. I didn't know if I would be able to handle it, so I thought I'd get the small tube to begin with, because there's no point buying a huge tube if you can't get past one session. So I bought the small tube, which is 10 grams, and it cost me about $10, and it's done me 3 times so far. So I've got a tiny bit left in the tube, and then that will do me for today. Also, I OD on numbing cream a little bit because I really don't want to feel it. So yeah, I actually, this could probably do a normal person like 4 or 5 times, but I like literally pack it on. You should have seen me the first session. No wonder my whole face went numb while I was driving, because like even my lips went numb and my ears, and like I had to drive just still and like not move my lips. Like I couldn't even open my mouth, because as soon as I did, I would realize that I couldn't feel it, and it was just the most bizarre feeling. So anyway, I'm gonna pop this on now and then head in for my appointment. Because of everything that you do for me.
Stop! You're so lovely. Oh my goodness, you did not have to do that.
No, that's alright, I wanted to.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Let me get a bite.
I did on my Instagram stories like a question poll.
Yeah.
So I thought I would just ask you some questions, because I guess there's some common ones that I had before skin needling that a lot of people are asking me as well. So the first one is, what exactly does skin needling do to the skin?
So basically it creates a micro trauma in the upper layers of the skin, and we can go a little bit deeper as well. But basically it signals the skin's wound healing response to come through and really repair and rebuild those layers. And then depending on where we're working it, you know, it can plump the skin, it can soften fine lines, it can resurface the skin, it can clear pigmentation, break up scar tissue, all of that kind of different stuff. But I mean, essentially what it is creating collagen and elastin.
Yeah, so it's not like bad for the skin. It's
No,
like
definitely not. No, not at all.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, as long as it's performed correctly, it's fine.
Yeah, 100%. The next question that someone was asking is like, does it work? Like, is it actually a really good treatment, or one of the best treatments for acne scarring?
Yeah, definitely. It breaks up the scar tissue a lot when performed correctly, and you know, you might need a few sessions, but it's very, very effective.
Yeah.
But it's got minimal downtime, and it's very low risk. It doesn't create any heat in the skin or anything like that, so super safe to do and very, very effective.
And it's just like the body's normal response, hey? Like,
exactly.
Our body is designed to heal over, like when we get a paper cut or something like that.
Exactly, or if we skin our knee, our wound healing response comes through and basically remodels that skin and brings new skin to that surface, resurfaces the area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really like that word, remodels. It's like,
I know.
I can actually like, picture it with the layers of the skin, like getting to work.
Yeah.
It's so good. So the next one is, can people with active acne have it?
It depends. Very, very dependent on the individual. And it depends what grade it is, how cystic it is, but most times yes, but again, it really, really depends.
Yeah, someone would have to like come for a consult.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some yes, some no.
Okay,
yeah.
Alright, cool. And consults are like normally free, aren't they?
Typically, I mean, I perform free consultations, which go for about 30 minutes. So I do that. Some places will charge, but most of the time, places that do charge make that redeemable off treatment or product if you decide to go ahead with anything with them. I think that's pretty typical.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
Cool. So the next one is it a waste if you can't keep up consistent appointments? Like, would you still see some benefits from one, and then like how many treatments should you kind of have, all of that kind of?
Yeah, you would definitely see results from one, but it is recommended that you do a course of them. So typically, if you're doing a block of treatments, 3 would be your absolute minimum that you would want to commit to. And then for scarring, like I've treated scars before where we've really had to go in and do 12 treatments to see that full removal. So again, super dependent on the skin, I guess. And what was the other half of the question?
Sorry. How far between like treatments?
Anywhere from, you can do it as little as 3 weeks, and the longest that you would want to leave it in between if you're treating in a block would be 6 weeks. But once you sort of go through a block of treatments, I have some clients that for general rejuvenation, maybe in a year they'll do 3, and then to maintain it, they might do 1, 12 months later or 6 months later, depending on what they're concerned with and what they want it for, if it's before an event or things like that.
And does it matter, like, so if someone could only afford like 2 treatments, if they spaced it out, like had 1 in January and 1 in June, is that going to be like better than them doing like one after the other really soon after each other, or like how does it work with the skin?
If you were to do 2, you'd want to do it in a block. So the second treatment is always better than the first treatment, third's better than the second, so on and so forth, so long as they're spaced accordingly. But basically, when you're treating it like that, you want to be treating those new skin cells that are coming to the surface to really build on those overall results. If that makes sense. So wouldn't necessarily be starting from scratch if you were doing your second treatment, 6 months down the line, but you definitely wouldn't notice as much of a change within the skin as 2 together in closer proximity.
Because they're working on like similar skin cells and like
exactly. Okay. So you're treating that first sort of come through of cells and then the second one, and that's really building on it.
That makes sense. So is skin needling good for anything else other than just acne scarring? Like what are the other benefits, I guess, of skin needling?
Yeah, so it depends what you're trying to treat or what level we're treating at, but very, very preventative in the way of anti-aging. So it builds on your own collagen and elastin and really stimulates that to come through. Really good for fine lines, pigmentation, sun damage, open pores. There's heaps and heaps of different things that we can treat it for. But really dependent on what layer, again. So, we can go anywhere from 0.25 millimeters to 3 millimeters in the skin, and we've got different skin cells that are at different layers. So you really treat to what you're sort of concerned with.
Yeah, that's so true. I guess like whenever I thought skin needling, I always kind of thought acne scarring, but it does like so
many different things, and like just even the overall texture of the skin too. So softening everything, making everything nice and smooth. Redness, capillaries, things like that.
It's just like a big reset button.
Almost, pretty much.
Love it. So how long until you typically see the results?
Everybody's so different, and it depends, what you're maintaining it with at home, and it really depends. I mean, typically I like to do that first block of 3 to see where the skin's at, but I mean that keeps building. So once you've had 1 treatment, it takes about 3 months for that full collagen deposition to come through. So it's almost like the gift that keeps on giving. So even if you had 3 treatments, you wouldn't see the full benefits of that till really like, about 9 months down the track by the time you finish that 3rd set. So, but again, everybody's so different.
I love that, the gift that keeps
it does though.
Are these results enhanced with any products? Like, is it a good time to kind of use products, or when would you use it? How does that kind of work, combining skin needling with penetrating other products?
I always recommend retinol when we're doing skin needling, just because it's a cell corrector itself, so it really helps with maintaining everything, but also just good products in general, keeping our skin nice and healthy. And again, so dependent on the skin type that we're treating too. But lots of active ingredients while we're doing it will really stimulate you to see the best results from it.
Amazing. So what do you use?
When I'm doing needling to myself?
No, like when you're doing it. Like
when I'm actually performing it. Okay, cool. So at the same time, like when I'm actually needling your skin, I'm infusing retinol, copper peptides, hyaluronic acid, because we're creating those channels that go right down to the dermis most of the time. It creates this pathway for those ingredients to travel a lot further than they normally would. So I do that, and then finishing your skin off with a really nice soothing cream and a barrier protection as well. So when those channels are closing, nothing from no pollutants or anything like that can get in and do any damage.
100%. That sounds. Because I constantly I'll feel you like rubbing something into my skin while you're doing it.
That's what I'm doing.
And I used to think that was like the blood, because sometimes when you watch like
sometimes it is. Like sometimes it's a bit of a combination. But typically if I'm starting and I'm doing an area, that's like my slip product. And that's all your, there's most of the time it's vitamin A, it's amino acids, building blocks for the skin, things that are really going to enhance the needling.
I mean, I have poor circulation anyway, so my blood probably doesn't really get pushed around.
There's a little bit, but not too much.
Okay, cool. So with the at-home derma roller, so what is your take on the DIY derma roller at home? How is it different to like skin needling in clinic?
They work on the same sort of principle, but depending on how, I guess, deep you're going into the skin depends on how I feel about it. I think at home you should be sitting at a 0.25, but everybody feels different about this, and it really depends on, I guess, the professional that you're going to see, their kind of outlook on it. I don't like anything deeper just because as it's rolling, if you actually look at it in slow motion, it's rolling in and out of the skin on like a 45-degree angle. So it can sometimes create micro tears and leads to inflammation and things like that, as opposed to the needling device that I use that perforates vertically. So there's really no room to create any like micro tears or anything like that in the skin.
So how is like a micro tear different to like
a puncture point?
Yeah,
that's vertical is very controlled. Whereas, you know, if you're coming in from all angles, you don't actually know what area you're treating. And not only is it's sort of hard to explain, but if you think about the needling going in and out like that, there's no room for it to kind of move and create other little tears anywhere else. It's not necessarily when it's rolling that it's creating it, but as it's coming out, it's continuously moving. So you're getting that scratching motion as it comes out. And you got to think, you know, you're rolling like generally about this speed. So it's not necessarily just going in on a 45 and then coming out at a 45. It's sort of being teared as it's rolling, if that makes sense. So that's where that sort of comes into
play. And that visual is just like, it kind of deters you from
so if you look at, there's heaps of videos that you can look up online where you actually look at it closely. And it's pretty horrifying. But yeah, it really depends on how you feel about it, I guess. Some people are on the fence, some people love it, some people hate it. You can do it definitely to enhance your product's absorption at home, but I'm not the biggest lover of them, personally.
Of course. All right, cool. So aftercare instructions, like what is the typical downtime? I know that it probably changes a lot between people because my first session, I was like a red tomato the next day and like not even makeup and Instagram filters could cover it. Like it was just, I didn't want to go anywhere the next day. But then after my second session, I could put makeup on and go out, like go in public and it was fine and you couldn't even tell. So like what typically, let's start, like what is the downtime usually for people, or what does it range from?
So if someone was coming to see me that had never had it done before, it was their first time, this is pretty much the idea that I would give to them for downtime. You do have the ability to be red, kind of like a bad sunburn, for 48 hours post-treatment. So this doesn't always happen, but it can. You know, some skins are completely diminished with their redness within the hour, like myself. That's pretty much how my skin responds. But then I have some clients that, you know, they are so red they're almost purple for 2 days straight. So it really depends. So yeah, ability to be red for about 2 days. By about day 3, day 4, you start getting quite dry and flaky, and then your skin typically returns to normal about day 5 to 7 is pretty average. But yeah, day 3, day 4, day 5 can be pretty flaky. So you can put makeup on top of that. Typically it makes it look worse. I prefer not to wear it just because it does make it look a lot drier than what it is. But you can wear it if you need to.
Alright, cool. I will be showing everyone how my skin responds this time, being the third treatment. But I will also put up a photo later just how my skin responded the first time, because I think it is important to kind of compare the two as well. So with aftercare treatment then, what do you typically like recommend? Like is it kind of like you just do cleanser the next day and then you can go back to using all of your normal products, or like how long would you kind of hold off?
So the day of the treatment, you don't want to do anything to your skin after you see me until the next morning. So no touching, no wetting, no cleansing, nothing. Definitely no swimming or exercise. The next day, and pretty much typically for the next sort of 5 to 7 until your skin returns to normal, you want to keep everything basic. So basic cleanser, basic moisturizer, being super careful in the sun, and wearing an SPF if you are going outside, even if it's incidental exposure, just because that new skin is so susceptible to sunburn, sun damage, all of that. But really you just want to keep that basic sort of routine going until your skin returns back to normal. If clients have, you know, certain types of healing serums or hyaluronic acid serums, you can use those too to help boost hydration, but nothing like active, or, you know, no vitamin C's, no retinols, no acids, no exfoliating. Those type of products are completely out for 5 to 7.
All right, sweet. No, that's usually what I do anyway, so I'm well behaved. So is there anyone who shouldn't get skin needling? Like I did a quick Google and it like suggested maybe pregnant women, but then that's Google. So like what's usually?
Everybody sort of views that differently. I've worked in clinics before where it's been like, absolutely not, we can't touch pregnant women. And then I've also worked in clinics where it's been like, as long as you've got GP consent, it's fine, and written GP consent as well. So, I mean, typically it's not very common for pregnant people to get it done. And then another one would be super duper active cystic acne, but again, it's very like, I'd have to see it before I would tell you not to do it. And then there's a few medical conditions that come into play as well with it as well. So if someone's got diabetes, you can't necessarily not do it, but they've got a slower healing response. And a few more.
Okay, so a consultation's probably
that's
best.
It, always best. And then of course certain medications as well. So if you were on Roaccutane, I wouldn't be able to touch you with a 10-foot pole either. So lots of different things that can make you sensitive to it, I guess.
Okay. Cool. Last question. So I was talking to my roommate about this. I think the worst part is the forehead, but my roommate reckons that the worst part is the jaw, whereas the jaw is like your best part. Like I don't feel anything around my jaw. So what do you think your worst part is?
Forehead.
Hate
it. I've got such a bony forehead. Most people do. But that and like as far back towards the hairline is like my biggest nightmare. Hate it.
And so what's your best part then?
Cheeks,
the easiest.
Easiest for me. So much fat padding through there, it's fine.
And how would you describe what it feels like?
It's very hard to describe just because when you think needling, you actually can't feel the puncture wound.
You can't feel it.
I would say it feels like a sharp vibration. That's kind of like my perception of it, but everyone's different. Like I have some clients that are like, oh, it just feels like a micro, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. But like that's their perception of.
That's kind of what I like to get my head around it. That's what I.
So you don't have to think about the needles.
I'm like, I'm just getting a micro. It's so much better than I thought it would be. Some people think that it's good to like start with the worst part.
I prefer to.
I think I need to work up to it and finish with it. But in saying that, like the worst part still isn't that bad. Like it's totally fine. It's so worth the benefits. Alright, cool. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet, cool.
How long has your numbing been on for? Are you cold under the aircon? Are you okay?
That's fine.
You're right?
Numbing's been on since probably an hour.
Beautiful.
Is that too long?
No, that's fine.
How long does it last for?
About an hour and a half. I find that it typically starts to wear off at about 1 hour 15, hour and a half-ish. Like you can start to feel it sort of go.
So 75% of this is going to be done with that?
No, not at all.
Red I ended up going. It looks so cool. I love that it's like a mask though, like you can see the eyes where you like don't do. Alright, I will report back. So it's, I don't know what time it is, I'm so disorientated. But I will report back tomorrow morning and show you guys how red I still am tomorrow. So the first time I was very similar to this the whole next day, not this bad. And then the second time it was like nothing like this and I could go out in public. So I'm not too sure what it'll be like this time, but yeah, I guess we'll find out. All right, so I just jumped in the car and I just wanted to quickly mention that because we were talking for so long at the start, and also like with all the vlog filming and stuff, like we had a bit of a longer appointment time because I had to set up all the cameras and all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't see. Anyway, I was there, we started like actually doing the needling almost an hour after I put the numbing cream on. But I asked Claire and she said it starts to wear off around the 1 hour, 15 minute mark. And I was like, that's interesting. She was like, nah, it'll be fine, because she knows how I am with needles. So bless her for like making it all chill. Anyway, my body could tell when the numbing cream started wearing off, and I kind of only knew when it first wore off because my body started shaking. So my mind was okay because I'd literally just been doing, I just had skin needling for like the last 20 minutes by that point, except because my body could now feel it, it was going into that fight or flight stress response that I often talk about on my channel. And it's an automatic stress response. So my body perceives like needles as danger because that's just my phobia. So my body started like shaking, like uncontrollably shaking. And I was just laughing about it with Claire, and I was like reassuring her. I was like, no, I'm fine. Like mentally, I'm just like breathing and I'm fine. But yeah, my body just like wasn't having it, and it was just reacting. Like your subconscious is just designed to protect you. So even if it suspects a danger, yeah. So the breathing did help. I was just counting like to 4 in and then counting to 6 out. It is, yeah, a simple breathing technique, but one of my favorites. And we lasted the whole treatment, but I just like, I was like laughing at myself shaking because I couldn't really control it. But at least now I can tell you guys what it feels like with numbing cream and what it feels like without numbing cream. And I feel like you can feel that you can feel the needle part of it without numbing cream. But if you put numbing cream on, you won't even register really that it's a needle. Like it just feels like a vibration. It kind of feels like a microdermabrasion. But yeah, so my advice is just to have the numbing cream. I won't purposely do it without numbing cream in the future. But just so that you know how it feels. But in saying that, I did survive, and I was actually okay with it. I wouldn't say that it was like super painful or anything, but it just did feel more like a needle, which is why my body like was freaking out, even though I wasn't. Makes no sense. But yeah, anyway, now I can kind of tell you, why have I got like lines on my face? It's way too dark, not the best lighting. But yeah, now I can tell you what it feels like, both with and without. I recommend with, but it's not the end of the world without. Unless you have a needle phobia and you start shaking. But nah, if you do it with someone that you're comfortable with, like I did with Claire, then it's totally fine. So yeah, I will show you guys what I look like tomorrow.
Alright, good morning guys. So I just woke up, but I thought that I would show you what my face looks like before I cleanse and put makeup on and go to my walk and all of that. So yeah, my face is not too red. It does look a little bit more red in the mirror than it does in the camera. But you can see like this one here is like scar tissue, I guess. So it's not red enough to kind of hide all the blemishes like it was last night. But it's pretty good, it's not too bad. I'll put on some makeup and I will show you if the redness comes through or not.
Alright, so this is my face with makeup on. I would say that it covered the red really well. So my face was not this well covered the first time, but I would say that the second time, yeah, it was just like this. Like I could go out in public and no one would even know. If anything, it kind of just looks like you're a bit sunburnt. But yeah, it's not obvious at all after the first time, for me anyway. It does feel a little bit dry, so usually I do have oily skin, and my makeup, it went on really well, but I don't know, like if you have dry skin then it might flake off. Like Claire was saying that sometimes people do get like a bit of like flaky skin and stuff just because of all the drying, but I don't really experience that. I don't think I experience my skin like being all flaky, but I am more dehydrated. So last night before bed, I was so thirsty, like I just sat there and drank like a whole water bottle in one sitting without like, not because I had to, but because I genuinely wanted to, and I'm terrible at drinking water, so that like never happens. But yeah, I'm just about to go for a walk. I've got my visor so that I don't get sunburnt, because you do have to be really careful the next day that you are not really in the sun. But I do need to go for a walk for sanity. But I think that's it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this skin needling vlog. If you did, and if you would like any other vlogs like this, then please do let me know what you would like to see down in the comments. And also don't forget to go and follow me over on Instagram, because that's where I share health tips and my journey in health and in skin all throughout the week. And also don't forget to follow Skin Vice as well on Instagram, because she is amazing. But yeah, if you liked this video, then please do make sure to like it and subscribe below. But that is all from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video next week.